Have you ever noticed that the deeper your thoughts go, the further you drift from everyone else? That the more you see, the less people want to listen? It's not your imagination. The world has never been kind to deep thinkers, not because they're wrong, but because they make others uncomfortable. From Socrates to Nietzsche to Alan Turing, the most brilliant minds weren't celebrated in their time. They were rejected, ridiculed, or worse, erased. Not because they lacked genius, but because they shined a light on things people would rather leave in the dark. But why does this happen? Why is it that deep, critical thinking, arguably the most valuable human trait, is often met with silence, suspicion, or even hostility? The answer lies in how our minds react to those who challenge our reality. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When someone is stronger than us, we admire them. When they're richer, we envy them. But when someone is more intelligent, really, truly intelligent, something strange happens. Instead of respect, many feel threatened. Psychologists call this the intellectual mirror. A deep thinker doesn't just introduce new ideas, they reflect back the limits of the people around them. And that's not something most people are ready to face, because intelligence isn't just knowledge, it's a spotlight. And when that spotlight lands on deeply rooted beliefs, on social norms, on unspoken fears, people flinch. So rather than engage, they withdraw. Rather than listen, they dismiss. Not because the ideas are bad, but because they're too revealing. Here's why this matters. Most people build their identity around what they believe, their politics, their values, their religion, their view of the world. So when a deep thinker enters the room and questions those beliefs, even gently, it doesn't feel like a conversation. It feels like a threat to the self. That's why people resist. That's why they get defensive, change the subject, or label the thinker as arrogant or too intense. Because deep thought isn't entertainment, it's a mirror. And mirrors show us what we'd rather not see. Think about your own life. How often have you tried to bring up something meaningful, only to watch others check out? How many times have your most thoughtful moments been met with awkward silence? This is not rejection of you, it's resistance to depth. Human brains are wired to avoid discomfort, and deep ideas bring discomfort. They challenge assumptions, they introduce uncertainty. And most people would rather feel certain and wrong than uncertain and right. This is why so many intelligent people feel alone, not because they don't want connection, but because they think in a way that separates them. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Studies in neuroscience show that when people feel intellectually outmatched, their brain's fear center, the amygdala, activates. It reacts as if they're under threat. The smarter the speaker, the more anxious the listener can become. Why? Because for most of human history, being liked mattered more than being right. Our ancestors survived in groups. To be different was to be vulnerable. So, our brains evolved to prioritize social safety over truth. And that instinct is still with us today. In a group setting, the threat of looking foolish or being outshined activates that same fear response. This is why deep thinkers often feel more at ease in one-on-one conversations than in groups. Because in groups, social comparison takes over. People aren't just listening, they're judging themselves in real time. They ask, do I sound smart enough? What if I can't keep up? Will others think I'm dumb? And rather than engage, they pull back or push the deep thinker away. This leads to a tragic cycle. The more someone seeks truth, the more isolated they often become. And the more isolated they feel, the less they want to share what they know. It's not just a social issue, it's deeply psychological. Cognitive biases explain a lot of this. The Dunning-Kruger effect shows us that those who know little tend to believe they know a lot, so they're more likely to dismiss deeper insights. The status quo bias makes people cling to familiar ideas, even when better ones are available. And the backfire effect reveals that when beliefs are challenged, people often double down, not reconsider. Deep thinkers, by nature, threaten all three, not intentionally, but by simply being themselves. Now add social media into the mix. In today's world, viral success is built on speed, emotion, and simplicity. The deeper an idea is, the harder it is to package. And so, loud, shallow content rises to the top, while thoughtful voices are drowned out. Society rewards those who are confident, not those who are correct. And this leaves many brilliant minds unheard, not because they're saying the wrong thing, but because they refuse to oversimplify the truth. This brings us to Arthur Schopenhauer, a philosopher who understood this loneliness all too well. He argued that intelligence is a double-edged sword. The more you understand, the more disconnected you feel from those who don't. Not because you're better, but because you're speaking a different language. Most people chase comfort, not clarity, distraction, not depth. And those who pursue truth, raw, unfiltered, uncomfortable truth, often find themselves walking a solitary path. Schopenhauer believed that most of life is driven by a blind, irrational force, the will. But deep thinkers move differently. They don't just live, they ask why we live. They challenge the will, and that makes them outsiders. They struggle with small talk because their mind craves meaning. They appear detached because they've seen through the illusions most people still chase. They ask the questions most are too afraid to confront. So, if you're a deep thinker, if you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or misunderstood, know this: you are not broken. You are not alone. You are just rare. And in a world that fears depth, that rarity comes at a cost. But it also comes with something far more valuable: clarity, awareness, truth. And those who carry that burden, quietly, patiently, honestly, are the ones who shape the world long after the noise fades.